Hello everyone and welcome to Victoria's Cantina. Today we're having a look at the Hasbro Star Wars The Force Awakens 3 3/4 inch scale First Order Special Forces TIE Fighter with TIE Fighter Pilot action figure. Alright my friends, so looking here at the box, you can see that it looks very nice. I'm a huge fan of this The Force Awakens artwork. I just think it looks great, and no exception here. The TIE Fighters in action look really cool. You can see the figure there in the lower right. At the top says Star Wars The Force Awakens, and you get an image of Kylo Ren on the upper right. Alright you guys, so last week we did a review on the 6-inch scale Black Series TIE Fighter, the giant one with the 6-inch TIE Pilot figure, and now we're looking at the smaller one, which is even more disappointing than the big one. Now, I did like the big one. I thought it was very impressive, but of course it had warped wings, and it was really difficult to get the figure into the cockpit. With this one, you still get the warped wings, and in fact, they are far worse in the smaller scale TIE Fighter than they were in the 6-inch scale TIE Fighter. And, without even giving you any different angles or anything, you can already see that the wings are kind of, just distorted in all these different sorts of directions. It's very off-putting and very disappointing. Now, the TIE Fighter itself does look good. If you don't look at the wings, just concentrate on the body. The body looks really good. And the same goes for the wings, not counting the fact that they are warped. The detail on the wings is actually really nicely done. Really like the color of them. The back of the TIE Fighter has a different look to it than the front does. And I just think that it's done very nicely. Nice sculpt work, nice paint. And then the other wing, of course, you can see is very nicely done as well. Let me go and give you a look here at the cockpit. Like I said, it's very nicely sculpted. Hasbro did a very good job with it. They painted it very nicely. Really like this charcoal sort of color along with the red, which is very vibrant and I think just looks fantastic. You do have to do a little bit of assembly. You have to put the cockpit lid on there, and then this turret on the bottom, you got to install that as well. We'll look at those parts a little more closely in just a second. But first, just want to give you a few more angles here of the cockpit because I think it does look very nice. And I think Hasbro did a really good job with it. It's very solid plastic. And on the back, there's another little window right here, which, you can kind of see through it there. It is, tinted, so you're not going to see a whole lot in there once you get your figures in. But the back of it, of course, has a different look to it, and I think it just looks really good. For the cockpit, you're going to see that on top you have your hatch, and you're going to pull that down with your fingernail. And you'll be able to see the inside. And there's not a whole lot to see. It isn't as nicely detailed as the 6-inch scale Black Series TIE Fighter. But, nonetheless, there is some detail in there. You can see 2 figures in there, and I'll show you how to do that in just a moment. But we'll go ahead and close that back up. And take a look here at the bottom of the TIE Fighter. And this is a part that was kind of difficult for me to install because it's not just the rotating turret that you have to put in there. It's actually this whole piece, and it snaps in with 3 different tabs. There's one here, and one there. But once you get 2 tabs in, it seemed like it was always hard for me to get the third one pressed in. Ultimately, I was able to get it done. It just seems like it was a little bit more difficult than it needed to be. But yeah, you can move that turret down here around like that. Gets 360 degrees of rotating movement. This little button here so that you can launch the missiles, and we'll look at that too in just a moment. And then you're going to see a couple of knobs here, one here and then one there, so that you can launch the wings off, sort of either self-destruct or simulate that it's been shot down by an X-Wing in battle. Now, I do think that this piece up here is supposed to be like either a turret or an antenna. I know on the 6-inch one it seems like it's an antenna because you can't fold it down. But here I guess it could be a turret, and you can also move it around just like that, or up and down. The wings here are the most problematic aspect of this vehicle. As you can see, they are very warped, and I'm not sure why that is. I mean, I'm pretty sure it's due to the plastic, but I'm not sure why that would happen in the box because it's pretty well protected, I would say. I mean, it's not like, when I bought this that there was anything crushing the box or anything like that. I mean, they rest pretty comfortably inside the box. It's really just this sort of soft material that, Hasbro is deciding to use on these things, which, is very unfortunate because in the old days, of course, that was never an issue, and you know, it's just really, really sad. But yeah, I mean, no matter how you look at this thing, you can tell that the wings are just not straight like they should be. It's just really pathetic. They asked $40 for this. That's what this retails at, which that's already pretty expensive. But when you factor in that it's all jacked up like this, you know, in the wings, it's just very, very disappointing, very disheartening, and yeah, just really mind-boggling how they didn't determine that, you know, when they were testing their products out, that this was an issue. Or even worse, they just didn't care, and they knew it was an issue, and they, you know, shipped the product anyway. All right, and I mentioned the launching projectiles that go in there. They actually look pretty nice. They have sort of like a, I don't know, I guess you could call that like a torpedo, proton torpedo sort of thing going on. And then they have like a green laser blast behind them, which, you know, I think is a pretty neat look. And, you know, they're colored pretty nicely. And to get them into the TIE Fighter, you're going to see those two holes right there. And you simply push them in like that. And we'll go back to that red knob that I showed you right here in the back. They come out with a really good amount of force. So, you know, that's fun. And then for the wings that, you know, launch apart, I mentioned those two buttons. Down here on bottom, you get one there and one there. And the wings launch away. Now, as for the figure, there's really nothing too special about it. It's basically just like any other 3 3/4 inch Star Wars figure for The Force Awakens with 5 points of articulation. Sculpt work on it is pretty nicely done. Coloration on it, I mean, it's black. Got some silver detailing on it. And then the, you know, chest panel has, you know, some reds and some blues on it. So by and large, I mean, it looks good, but it just doesn't look like anything, you know, all that wow, or, you know, it's not that impressive. It has 5 points of articulation. Like I said, you can take off the helmet and you get your head under there, just kind of move that around. And I'll give you a close-up of that. It's kind of weird looking. I mean, one of his eyes is kind of jacked up and he's got like a, you know, a thing over his head. It just looks kind of funny to me. Eyebrows are kind of effeminate. Yeah, I don't know. It's just kind of weird. And then you're going to have that hole left over right there from when you pulled out his helmet. And if you wanted to put that back on, you know, you just throw it back on there and push that back in. I think that's kind of a little bit irritating that, you know, it looks like that. But you get your swivels here at both of the shoulders, and then you get swivels at both of the legs, and they do go up pretty much a full 90 degrees. And then he comes with one blaster accessory, just a little gun that you can lose very easily if you're not careful. Now, one thing that's pretty cool about the gun is that you'll see these little outlines underneath the hatch. You can get it in there if you just, you know, press it in. It does fall out. It doesn't stay in there all that well, but, you know, I like little things like that that just add a little bit more playability. And as far as getting your figure in there, very easy to do. You just put him in a sitting position, and you're going to see two seats inside there. You get one right here and then one right there. The one down here faces to the front of the cockpit, and the one over here faces to the back. So if you want to put your guy in, and that's basically the figure in there, and it stays in there very well. And then close the hatch. Snaps shut, and the little gun fell off because I just heard it fall. Yep, sure enough, it's gone. And then, you know, you have your other seat that faces backwards. And I actually bought a second TIE Fighter pilot so that I, you know, put it in here with him. But I'm not sure if I'm going to keep this TIE Fighter because of the warped wings. So I'm not going to open up the other TIE Fighter pilot figure. And, yeah, no matter how you put him in there, he fits in there very nicely. And I anticipate that two figures in there at once would fit in there just fine. So kudos to Hasbro on that. But as far as, you know, these really atrocious wings go, terrible. Alright, you guys, and here's a comparison here with the 3 3/4 inch scale TIE Fighter, which you can see is absolutely tiny compared to the 6-inch scale version. I assume that the 6-inch scale version is in better scale with regards to how they appear in the film. And then just to give you a comparison here of the First Order TIE Fighter along with Hasbro's 2006 the Saga Collection TIE Fighter that had the movie accurate size wings, you can certainly see a huge difference in terms of quality when looking at the wings. Now, I will say that I do like the cockpit better on the First Order TIE Fighter, but the wings, I mean, look at them. It's no contest. Less than 10 years ago, Hasbro could do wings that did not warp, were made of a very rigid plastic. Even in the 70s, they were able to do that. And, Hasbro really should be ashamed to some degree of putting out product that looks like that. And very sad that in the year 2015, Hasbro can't put out a product as nice as they did a decade ago. All right, ladies and gentlemen, so there you have it. This is the Hasbro Star Wars The Force Awakens 3 3/4 inch scale First Order Special Forces TIE Fighter, along with 3 3/4 inch TIE Fighter Pilot. All in all, you guys, I'm very disappointed in this. The wings just really ruined this for me. Like I said, it's not a bad toy. It's actually pretty fun, and I think Hasbro did a very nice job with the cockpit area of the vehicle. It looks great, has a very nice sculpt, paint is really nicely done. It's fun. You can open up the cockpit, put the figure in there, put two figures in there. You can put his gun inside the hatch. You can rotate the turret, you can shoot the missiles, you can launch off the wings. That stuff is great. It's really fun, but the wings are just so distorted that it makes it hard to enjoy this thing in any way, shape, or form. The figure itself is okay. This vehicle retails at $39.99. I actually got mine at Walmart for $25 since they had theirs on sale. And I think that's a really good price. It's actually a very, very good price for this vehicle with the figure. But even so, I'm not sure that I'm going to keep it. At the very least, I'm going to try and see if I can get, one that doesn't have wings that are so distorted. But I don't know. I may just return it and, just forget about it because it's just so disappointing to me that the wings are like this. Hasbro, if you're watching, you guys really need to get on the ball. Other companies do not have issues like this. There's no reason for you, such a big, multi-billion-dollar mega corporation, to be putting out products that have these sorts of issues. Come on, guys. So I really can't recommend this to you in good faith, simply because of the wings. I think that if you can get a really good deal on it for, like I did, like $25 or less, then, it might be worth picking up because I do think that it is fun. But it's just really hard for me to get past the wings. And yeah, I know that it's just a toy, but Star Wars is more than, a single toy for any of us longtime Star Wars fans and collectors. These weren't issues that we had, back in the past, and they certainly should not be issues now. On a scale of 1 to 5 stars, I'm going to go ahead and give it 3 stars. Like I said, it does have some very good things about it, like the playability, but the wings, this could have been a 5-star review for me if the wings were, not made of such a cheap plastic and were not so warped. And as TIE Fighters are my favorite vehicles from the Star Wars movies, I was especially let down by this poor quality. Alright, my friends, if you enjoyed this video, then I do encourage you to please like and subscribe. Let me know down in the comments what you think about this TIE Fighter and the figure, whether or not you're picking it up and what your experiences have been with it if you've gone ahead and gotten it already. Be sure to follow me on Facebook and Twitter, and as always, I want to thank you for watching Victoria's Cantina. Till next time, bye-bye.